There isn't anyone outside watching.
Welcome everyone to the September 11th, 2024 Library Board meeting. Good to see a good turnout again, so thank you. Approval of the agenda. I'm looking for a mover and a seconder to moved by Helena. By Patricia. All in favor? That is carried. Declaration of pecuniary interest in general nature thereof. Does anyone wish to declare at this time? Seeing none. Minutes of the previous meeting, that was August 15th, board meeting. Is there anything anybody wants to discuss in the minutes of that meeting? Or Sydney?
I just want to make an amendment, if possible, to the minutes. It does say all members of the board were present, and I was not present, virtually or in person. Apologies about that. So I just wanted to point that out.
We'll fix that.
Thank you.
So if you wouldn't mind approving them as amended.
So we're looking for somebody to approve these as amended, minutes as amended. Jane approves, Helena seconds it. All in favor? And that's carried. Presentations today, I guess, is is next up, and Katie, I'm not sure how to say your last name, but
Shedlick.
Okay. Welcome to the library board meeting, and we look forward to your presentation on technical services.
Thanks. Yeah, as you mentioned, I'm Katie Shedlick. I'm the systems librarian for the library. This is my technical services team that I oversee. Jasmine Boucher and Richard Getke started with us at the end of 2022. Jasmine is our cataloging technician, and Richard is one of the library van drivers. Larry Sloan is the other library van driver. He started with us back in 2009. And Dana Lumby began her position with us in 2021. Before that, she was working part-time for the museum. Yeah, and that's me in the middle, and I started in 2005. I started out as the cataloging technician, and I drove the van once a week. That was fun, all around the county. And then when Larry started in 2009, that's when I was off the van, back all in the office. And then 2010, I moved up to technical services coordinator. And then with the restructuring in 2020, my title changed to systems librarian. So my team, technical services, whereas the branch frontline, they handle all the frontline services. My team handles a lot of the behind the scenes work. So we handle collection development and acquisitions. By collection development, I mean we oversee the selection services offered to us by our vendor, Library Bound. And we submit requests for purchase and manage anything that's been ordered, basically. Jasmine looks after what cataloging needs to be done. A lot of that is outsourced, but we have to catalog local material, donations, that sort of thing, and any processing that needs to be done. Both Jasmine and I both do database maintenance, logistics and delivery. The van delivers material, supplies, equipment, furniture, you name it, 4 days a week. And my team also handles the collection maintenance, both out at the branches and at the admin office. And they go out about once a month. And Dana coordinates all of the branch bookings. So when branch staff submit requests for book club sets, Dana looks after that and makes sure they're out at the branches before their booking dates, as well as programming resources, and she looks after the discards for book sales. And interlibrary loan services are handled by my team. mostly by myself, but both Jasmine and Dana support different tasks to do with interlibrary loan. And the library software management, that's the Symphony. If you've heard the word Circe Dynamics Symphony, that's our library software. And we also do branch assistance. We go out and help out with collection projects, shelving projects. Richard's been a huge help. He's our handyman. He does minor repairs and installations, and he does some assembling of shelves, racks, whatever the branches might need. So a little bit more about my position. As I said, I manage the technical services, supervising 2 full-time and 2 part-time staff. For about 2 days a week, I manage the interlibrary loan service, and that's looking after the requests that come in from other library systems for our material and get them prepped, ready to go out. And then requests for our patrons stop in my work queue, and then we send them out as long as they meet our policies. And a lot of it is mailing. We have to weigh and measure every package of every item that goes out, and that's the most time-consuming part of it. So yeah, about 2 days a week, and then throughout the week, I just monitor to make sure there's no pending requests. And then the rest of my week is usually project-based. I'm always working on something, whether it's to do with Symphony, configuration, working on reports, always troubleshooting, staff assistance. The branch staff come to me if they have any questions, or if they're not sure about something, they'll contact me. And we do a lot of writing, manuals, like the staff manual and position manuals. And I've been helping with policies and plans. You'll have seen the collection plan that I helped put together at your last meeting. And then collection development, and that involves the collection plan, and also audits, working with the material vendor, automatic release plans, or ARPs as we call it, and the collection maintenance. So yeah, this is just a little to give you an idea of how much volume my team handles. Just a little quick shot of one of the delivery days. Every month we process over 200 bins of new and old, and that's just incoming material. It doesn't include what we pack up and send out. But yeah, it's a lot of volume. Dana does well to get through it all every week. And these are discards. About once every quarter, we send out 2 pallets worth of discarded books. And that's for library bound. Or sorry, not library bound, Better World books. And then the rest of them we send out to the branches throughout the summer months for book sales. And those discards that we pack up all come from collection maintenance we do. We support the branches by helping them maintain their shelf space, keeping collections accessible to patrons and fully stocked. The collection maintenance is done monthly. Right now, we are focusing on weeding the branches of material that are no longer circulating and that have been in the collection over 5 years. Material weeded is stored at the admin office and put into, like I said, book sales, given to local charities, Better World Books, anything that's really stained or damaged that gets recycled. We also manage a balance, using a balance for shelf space using a shared spreadsheet that reflects and communicates to us the condition of the shelf space at each of the branches and tells Dana when to send material to restock branch shelves when they're low, and tells us what branches we'll be sending into admin from overstocked areas each week. So then our branches are, sorry, our drivers pick up that overflow every Tuesday. Just a few shots of projects that Richard has helped us with. The first one is a van full of equipment. I believe that was when he was working on the Lego wall, which is that little green wall and is found at the Goderich branch. He did a nice job on that. And then magazine racks and sound baffles down at the Exeter branch, as well as there's no pictures here, but he also helped us put up sound baffles at admin. They're freestanding ones. And then, yeah, magazine racks and odd shelves. Oh, the upper right corner is we took out 2 bays of nonfiction at the admin office, which was quite a lot of waiting. And this was all material that was well over 10 years old that hadn't moved in probably 15 years. So long overdue. And anything that we weeded, we were also checking whether it belongs in the Canadiana collection or not. So that gets processed for the Canadiana room and put into there. But yeah, it's a lot of work, a lot of projects. Including moving furniture. So we had fun. There was a little couch that showed up at the admin office that was meant for Wingham. So we had it for a short time and we enjoyed it. And then Richard moved it to Wingham, where Trina now enjoys it. So yeah, systems projects that are currently underway include a local history records project. And then we will be moving to a new interlibrary loan system in the next couple of months. I actually start my training today. And that resource is called Resource Sharing for Groups. And then Ontario Library Services putting on training sessions, first for the administrative staff, and then ILO staff, and then we'll be rolling it out to the branches and then to the patrons. Also, we haven't started cataloging, but we will be cataloging and processing the genealogy resources that we got from the OGS. And that includes cemetery records, birth, marriage, death records, family histories, local history, and general genealogy resources. So we have it all at the admin office. We've just finished getting it organized and coming up with a plan for getting it started. It's a lot. And then also the idea audit. So that means inclusive, diverse, equitable, accessible collections. And we're doing an audit on the collection, which I'll speak to in a bit. Yeah, the local history record project was something that I've been wanting to do for a long time, and that's to give better access to all of our local material, whether it's history or fiction. We have so many local authors. We wanted to find a way to make them easier to find in our online catalog. And also for staff to make it easier to find what we have in our system. So we wanted to update subject headings to make them more consistent. I don't know if you know rules of cataloging, but everyone can read it and interpret it differently and then catalog a little bit differently. So that makes it difficult to do subject searches if they're not all exactly the same, because it won't bring everything up if they're not exactly the same. So we've been doing a lot of work on that. And we also came up with a system for what subject headings we wanted on those local history records. So we wanted to give them as many access points as we could. And we also tagged them in a way that can work with reports and work with bibliocommons. So then once we got the majority of the work done, I started working with Shannon Cameron, our information services librarian, to set up the quick links that our Symphony feeds the lists. And I have on the next shot, I've got a little screen cap of what the new quick links look. I don't know if you've had a chance to see it yet, but along the top, we've got a Huron County Collections tab. And below that, you can select Huron County authors, all of them, just fiction, nonfiction, and then local history collections. You can browse all of it, or you can even go down by municipality because we've tagged all of the records based on the current municipality. We'll have subject headings for historical townships and municipalities, but we'll also have one on there for whatever the current one is, so they're easier to find. And then other resources like our own cemetery records and census records and church histories that we already have in our collection, and newspapers on microfilm, women's institutes. And then eventually we'll have a link on there as well for the OGS material that we're currently working on. So I was very happy to get that project done. And promote our local authors. But yeah, the next thing I'll be working on is the idea audit. As it says, having inclusive, diverse, equitable, and accessible collections is part of the library's core values, and is part of our strategic plan to perform this audit. And it's going to help with further developing our collections to support this value. Work I've done so far, it's in the beginning stages, but I've just completed uploading data sets based on subject headings into a new stock management tool that I'm using called Collection HQ. And it's telling us that we are sitting at over 20% of our collection that falls into an identified idea group. And it has a breakdown of percentages for each unique group. And then I'll be sharing more full report once the audit is complete. But that just gives you an idea. And when I was going through my training session with the Collection HQ rep, she showed us that where we stood with all the other libraries using Collection HQ, they were all at around 20%. So we're on the same level as all the other libraries using Collection HQ, which I was happy to see. Next steps will include comparing the percentages that Collection HQ is showing me with census information for Huron County. And then I'll also be reviewing award-winning titles from lists offered by diverse organizations or associations, and compiling a list of Canadian resources. I know we're already on top of any of the First Nation Community Reads titles. We've had those in our collection for a while, as well as Dyslexia Canada. With the addition of decodable books, I use Dyslexia Canada as a resource for finding titles. And I've also been looking at the Canadian Centre for Diversity and Inclusion, and then a couple of American sites, social justice books. They offer lists, as well as the American Library Association. They have some inclusive book lists that I'm going to be looking through. I think that is the end of my presentation. A lot of information in a short time.
Thank you very much, Katie, for this presentation, and the scope of the things that you're involved in is unbelievable, and so we really appreciate that for sure. Any questions from our library board members for Katie? Alina? Sorry.
So wondering, Katie, what Better World Books does with the books?
So they sell them online, and we get a small portion of their proceeds back. But they also pay for all of the boxes, the shipping, everything, like from the pallet wrap, everything that we need to pack them up. So I mean, just the fact that we're getting even a little bit back is kind of nice. But yeah, they sell them all online, and their proceeds go to underprivileged areas. I don't have my notes with me, but yeah, it's charitable. And then we're also looking at, there's apparently a Canadian version that we're looking into called Zoom Books, that we're just compiling some information on them to see if it might be better to switch to a Canadian company. So, yeah.
Neil?
Yeah, thanks very much, Mr. Chair. That was an awesome presentation. The depth of the background that you do was very intriguing to me, and this may seem like a really silly question. I heard you comment you weigh the books. Can
So
you?
for Canada Post, so in 2019, the Ontario Library Service had to stop their courier system, which delivered all across the province.
Yep.
So we had to turn to mailing everything through Canada Post. So with that, we do have a book rate, thankfully, and so it's not as expensive as like straight postage. But yeah, we have to. Every item I process through the interlibrary loan system, and then put them into padded bags, weigh them, measure them, and then go through this shipping tool offered by Canada Post. So I average on about 40 packages that I'm shipping each week and 40 packages I'm returning each week. The returns I don't have to weigh and measure because it's return postage included, thankfully. But it's quite time consuming. Like we won't come close to the numbers we were at before 2019. Like we were doing hundreds
Yes.
per week beforehand. So it's greatly reduced. Yeah.
Thank you for that. And those are the behind the scenes things that the library works so seamlessly that the public would never.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have realized that. So thank you very much for what you did. And thanks, Mr. Chair.
Any other comments or questions for Katie? Well, I'd just like to thank you for this presentation. As the warden has expressed, there's a lot going on behind the scenes that you're involved in, and we really appreciate that.
Thank you.
The recommended motion here is to receive this report for information from the technical services update. I'm looking for a mover and a seconder to do that. Moved by John, seconded by Alina. All those in favor? And that is carried. We're up now to board member comments on any other issues that you want to bring up at this time. Jane?
It's not an issue. I mean, because when I was at the Kirkton Fair representing the library board, of course, the library was open in the morning, and it was a really, really nice to see how much there was a focus on problem solving for someone would come in and say, I'd like this done. Well, we don't offer this service at this branch, but if you upload the file this way and email it to me, then I can do X, Y, and Z. And several were coming from South Perth. You can't help but overhear in that library. Like, it wasn't like I was trying to listen in. It's so small that if you're talking to somebody, everybody else in the library pretty much can hear. So it was really, really nice to see how staff interacted so well with community.
That is really good to hear in these times when this extra area got thrust onto this small library, and we hear reports of how well they're handling this and that, and that's really good. Like, Alina?
Yes, I'm also very impressed with the libraries, and in particular because I'm also on the Huron Newcomer Support Association. And we're involved in the conversation circles, and there's a demand for pencil. And I think we have volunteers ready to help host a conversation circle there. We realize there's staff are not going to be able to help. I think that's a one-person branch. Yeah. Until we get cloning further down the road. But yeah, really library support for newcomers.
Thanks for that, expressing that. John?
Thank you, Chairman Doug. Last meeting, we heard about the reading programs at the different branches. And I didn't realize that one of my granddaughters was taking part in that at the Zurich branch. And she totally loved it. The two girls that were doing the job were just fantastic. And Jamie comes out with these comments, how much fun she had with these girls. It was, and not just her, the whole group that were at the Zurich Library. It was really the connection that they have with these kids. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and that's what we like to hear, that reaching out to that age group and everything and
Yeah.
being inclusive for them. It's good to hear.
Keep up the good work.
Pass it along. Yeah.
Yes.
Warden.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to follow up on a couple of comments, and one was of Jane's. The Kirkton Fair was this past weekend, extremely well attended. And to have the library open on a Saturday morning to show all those individuals that attended the fair, that was simply amazing. So thank you very much to the staff for doing that, Jane, for being there, because that just raises the awareness of what we do and what we can provide in our library for the public. And secondly, I would like to commend Beth on the excellent interview you did with Bob Montgomery. He reached out to me a few days ago, and I passed him on to you because I knew you would explain the value of the library so eloquently. And that is the image that we want the public to have, is the awareness and the value of our library. So I wanted to compliment you on an excellent interview, Beth. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Good. Any other board comments? Are you okay, Nick? I sometimes ignore you and.
Happy camper.
Very good. I guess then we're up to reports from the county librarian, Beth.
Thank you through Mr. Chair. With respect to the monthly update, just a few pieces I will add some context to or expand on. Katie did mention the donation from our local Ontario Genealogical Society, the Huron branch. So for those of you who are aware, previously their collection lived in the log cabin, which is in front of the Huron County Museum here in Goderich. But we were looking for a new home for that where it could be more accessible to the public. The cabin wasn't open to the public all that frequently. So as Katie mentioned, those materials have now been donated to the library and are currently library admin for cataloging. There is quite a large volume of materials, so we're anticipating it may take about a year to get through them, but we are aiming they'll be relocated long-term to the Seaforth branch. So we are hoping that we will be able to have that collection moved in advance of the celebrations for Seaforth's 150th anniversary celebrations next summer. So that's where that project is at and going, and we will keep you updated as that continues. I did want to highlight the excellent team building event that was organized by Jenny this summer. So that staff had an opportunity to become more comfortable with the virtual reality headsets that we have, as well as some of our other technology, such as the gaming systems and things like that. And further to that, in the report, you'll see some of the pilot program that has been happening at the Goderich branch. So thanks to the Goderich staff for really getting their hands dirty and playing around with some of those new technologies. It's been going really well. Some VR tournaments, as well as drop-in VR time, as well as 2 Nerf battles that were held at the library after hours, which was a lot of fun, I think, for the youth that were able to participate in that. And Danielle did a great job of letting them have some fun and also teaching them the responsibility of cleaning up after themselves. And now that we've had that chance for a team to kind of understand what programming with these technologies will be like, those are available to other branch teams to use, starting with fall programming as well. I did want to draw attention to, there was mention of Seaforth Summerfest, and thank you to Jane for being there, and also recently at the Kirkton Fair, that we really appreciate board assistance at our outreach events, and Helena and Glenn, who will be joining me in Brussels later this week. That's great. And lastly, I just wanted to mention the police story time that was mentioned in this report, and there'll be a couple more in your next month's report as well, that it was very well received. And you can see that in the quote at the start of the report as well. That was an outcome of some of the board advocacy work that happened when members of the board advocacy committee met with the local police, and we, in coordination with our programming staff, Jim, who set that up. And also to the local staff, there was a lot of interest in Seaforth in particular, and they did a great job of coming up with activities and crafts for all of the children to do while they were waiting for their opportunity to have a seat in the police car. And I will leave it at that unless there are any questions from any board members.
Well, I'd just like to thank you, Beth, and your staff for keeping up on the technology side of things when we hear you in these monthly updates, and how this library is, we're not sitting on our laurels, we're reaching out to these new technologies and things, and that's what the young people and there's a lot of older people that are really interested in this stuff too, so it's very important. I'd like to congratulate you and Jenny too on this when we hear this. That's all good news. Alina?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, very impressive work. But I was wondering, the presentation of this monthly report where this is kind of cut off. You should just shrink the font so it's all on one page, so us old folks don't get.
Yeah, and my apologies, I did notice it, but I don't think we had an opportunity to update the agenda. Moving forward, it's a formatting issue when we upload the attachments, so we'll just upload them straight as PDFs, so it doesn't have to convert the file in the software.
Thank you very much.
Apologies.
Thanks for bringing up that issue, Alina. It's great. Are there any other questions on this monthly updates for Beth? I'll read this then. Huron County Library Board receives a report from Beth Rumble titled Monthly Updates is presented for information. And we accept this. I'm looking for a mover and a seconder. Moved by Patricia, seconded by Nick. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. Now I guess it's next is policy review.
Thank you through you, Mr. Chair. The first is the accessible customer service policy that the board did see last month. With the one addition that I mentioned, we would be making with contact information should someone have a question or comment about any accessibility.
Any questions for Beth on this accessibility? Huron County Library Board approves, oh, sorry, Alina.
In item 1.2, there's a capitalization that's kind of out of place on facilitating. Just check there. First letter.
Okay, we can adjust that before we make it public.
I've graded too much student writing. Things just jumped out. Thank you.
I'll read this and it's we accept this report on monthly updates, looking for a mover and a seconder. Moved by Alina, seconded by Nick. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Policy review then.
Thank you through you, Mr. Chair. The second policy we have for you today is the Indigenous Awareness and Reconciliation Statement. This policy was due for regular review, and it is also a requirement for accreditation. You'll notice there are significant revisions to it. That is through looking at what other libraries currently have in place, as well as the county now has the IDEA specialist. So we utilized the services of Sahil as well to add some comments and make some modifications to this policy as well.
Any questions for Beth on this policy review? Alina?
As with accessibility, it's very important to have Indigenous voices in policies for Indigenous people. And I'm assuming that the Ontario Library Association or some of those references did include Indigenous perspectives.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's a great question that I would actually like to verify because I'm not sure. I don't believe there's no preamble included with those policies, so I'm curious as well if that was included in their sample policy. So I may follow up with them to get that information.
Okay, yeah, thank you. And also I would spell territorial acknowledgements a little differently. In
there a
line
typo?
5 of the declaration.
Oh, yes, I would as well.
Gordon, Neil?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I would really like to compliment you, Beth, and your staff. This is very, very important. And we need to be very aware of this, and thank you very much for including this in the efforts on it. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Looking for a mover and a seconder then to accept this accessibility and also Indigenous awareness at this time. Moved by Jane, seconded by Alina. All in favor?
Just not.
That is-
It's not.
Don't hide behind Jane.
Sorry for that. I'm missing when I miss people. So you speak to that Indigenous awareness?
Well, that's the one I just did.
That's one you
Yeah.
just did. That's all the reports. Correspondence, is there any correspondence? Did we have any, I don't know if this is the place to bring it up or not, did we have any more correspondence about the Alice Monroe situation, or is it just died down for us and?
I believe the last record in the spreadsheet that we're keeping is from about mid-August. So that's where we're at. For now, we'll continue looking until the end of the year and keeping our ears open, but that's where.
Okay. Financial statements, we don't have any this month.
No.
Close to the public session, none, that's good. Next meeting, October 9th, 2024. That's a Wednesday. Write that on their calendar. Any other issues that library board members want to bring up at this time? Seeing none. I guess we'll adjourn then. Got a mover and a seconder for that. Nick seconds it. Thanks, Nick. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much.